This is jarring, and I want my draft pick back, and I'm replacing them with Wisconsin. They weren't picked in our draft last night, a title contender, so I will put Wisconsin in there. Big Ten drought be damned. This is a real final score. I can't believe I'm going to say this. BYU 91, Kansas 57, equaling Kansas's largest loss of the Bill Self era. A worst loss in program history. It's okay. I'm being told by Dagan Hughes it sounds like third worst. So third worst. Jeff Borzello is wrong. Worst loss in program history as a ranked team versus an unranked opponent. BYU is the only team in the last 7 years to lead Kansas by more than 35 points. It is the second Big 12 loss by 30-plus in the Bill Self era. Terrence Oglesby, what in the world has happened here?
I'm worried. And I think Kansas fans are worried. This is just the transfer portal era has been tough. It's been tough on old Bill. And here's the thing, like, you can't just keep guys around for 3 and 4 years, which is some of their best teams, and he's had throughout the course of his tenure there at Kansas. He's held on to guys. I also think it's time for and Hunter Dickinson went for 12 and 14. I'm ready for this era to be done. I'm ready for the Hunter Dickinson college era to be done. It's time. And then AJ Storr just didn't fit. There's a lot going on, more to even break down. It's a weird roster that doesn't fit well together, and it just kind of is what it is at this point. And they got their brains beat in. Now, Provo, not an easy place to play, granted. It's a whole bunch of sober, angry people in that gym, and they're letting you have it. However, BYU, very talented. They're not 34 points better? They're not 34 points better than Kansas. So something's not clicking. So, sometimes it rolls over and gets on top of you, but Kansas right now, 17-9, 8-7. They're not even close to the top of the league in the Big 12. So color me shocked. I thought they would be back. We talked about them in the preseason being a top 5 team in college basketball. That has not been the case, and it's just been a hodgepodge of weird rotations and people on the floor together. So I'm ready for Hunter Dickinson time to be done. I'm ready for DeJuan Harris time to be done. They've had great careers all in their own right, and they've done a lot of good stuff. But for Kansas, I think everybody kind of needs a wash.
Mike,
well,
they were not competitive.
Yeah, well, let me ask you guys this: how many times? And this is what DeJuan Harris said after the Utah game. Anytime I hear we need to play for the name on the front of our jersey and not the name on the back of our jersey, I have never heard someone say that and then also been like, man, they really turned it around after that. I mean, that is clearly something for him to say that there's something beyond probably what we're seeing on the floor. But what we're seeing on the floor, again, is it's Bill Self, who all season, and he's one of the best coaches probably of all time, he's been searching and trying to find a personnel grouping that makes any sort of sense. And I even said it earlier today. I'm like, well, maybe he goes with the 3 bigs and just says, screw it. Like we don't get to the free throw line enough. We don't force turnovers. We don't get offensive rebounds. Like if you don't win in those areas, there is so much strain on your team. And for this Kansas team, their only chance is to be elite defensively. And we didn't see any of that tonight. And it was really a repeat, not of the final score, but of the start to the Utah game where, they lose Madsen twice. They bust a switch. They run in at the ball. They get labeled on a screen. They bust a switch and get a layup over the top. And all of a sudden you're down 13-5. Same thing tonight. And the threes that were rained down from BYU, there's a difference between, hey, you know what? We're there on the catch, hand and face, and these guys are just rising up above us and knocking down shots. This was not that to start this game. This was straight line drives. This was getting to the paint, and this was those inside out catch and shoot threes, which if anybody practices threes, which a lot of people probably watching this have, all 3 of us have at some point in our lives, where do you typically practice threes from? Where does the pass, or if you're on the gun, where does that come from?
Comes from right underneath
the paint, under the basket. Yeah.
Yep.
So, I mean, it's what makes it one of the easiest shots in basketball, no matter where you're shooting it from. But you gave them enough confidence to start the game. The way BYU shoots it, now it doesn't matter if you're there on the catch. It's over. And so they let go of the rope big time in this game. And you got to try to salvage it, because the 3 games that you had this game, I think it was Oklahoma State next, and then there's Cincinnati maybe.
Colorado.
Colorado. And then you finish with the gauntlet of the Big 12, because schedulers, what they're going to say is, hey, here's our preseason number 1 pick in the Big 12. So what are we going to do? We're going to backload their schedule and put 3 really tough games to finish the season. Maybe maybe it makes for a really good race. And it's just not going to be that this year for Kansas, which is unfortunate.
I think it's as embarrassing.
I can't believe they started 4 non-shooters. And Dwan Harris, as long as he's been in college, still a non-shooter. Like, you put him in the game, you have him, Badunga, Dickinson, Adams, all on the floor at the same time. No space offensively whatsoever. So impossible to get any rhythm. And then how are you going to guard BYU? I know they're big, but like they're skilled and big. I'm
good
ready
offensive rebounding team too.
Yeah.
I mean, and think about it too. Last year's Kansas team, you can look on Ken Pom, and they're number 1 in the country, and assists for field goals made, right? Highest percentage of assisted field goals made. That's a dead giveaway for me that you don't have advantage creators. Because if you had advantage creators, you'd have guys that can get off the bounce, get your game off a little bit, get downhill, get into the paint. It's part of the reason they can't get to the free throw line this year. It plagued them last year. And then this year, it's the same thing. You got shooters, like quote-unquote shooters. Rylan Griffin, AJ Storr has been up and down shooting the basketball. You at least tried to improve in that area, but you still didn't get advantage creators. And I don't include DeJuan Harris as an advantage creator either, because if everybody goes under on your stuff, you can't create a ton of advantages consistently. So the big lineup to me, what they did tonight was what I was talking about earlier today, which was just, well, we at least have to try to get extra possessions, and that would hopefully be on the glass. But then it's BYU that kicks your butt on the glass to start this game. So it's just I'm at a loss with this Kansas.
But if you're gonna go that big, you got to slow it down to a crawl.
Yeah, you have to win the possession game. Yes,
that's hard to do against BYU because they're very willing to shoot it in the first 6. So it's like I understand like trying something different. We're going to try to match, Demon size for size. So, we're going to put KJ Adams on them. Then we'll be able to match up 4 or 5. I understand the thought, just didn't work. And then what happens is you're on the road. They hit a couple shots and shit snowballs on you, and it gets away from being cute real fast. And I think that's what happened today.
I think that's as embarrassing a loss that Bill Self has taken.
Yeah.
Because you're coming off a defeat at Utah. Utah, a non-tournament team, definitely trending in a better direction. And look, Coach Smith's doing a nice job there. But the fact is, you come off that and you say to yourself, all right, like let's do something here personally. Let's bounce back for ourselves. Forget the opponent for a second. And BYU's good. I mean, if there is one takeaway tonight, it's that I wouldn't want to be the 7 having to face a 10th seed at BYU, or in an 8-9 game with BYU. That's not a great reward there. That team can light it up from 3 quickly. Richie Saunders is a stud. I mean, tonight he shot 9 for 13. He had 22 points. An underrated piece of the puzzle is Mawot Mag because of what he could take away defensively. And tonight he gave him 13 points. That's something new, too. They got some players. I'll tell you what, that's a sleeping giant out there in Provo, big picture, because Kevin Young's got A.J. DeBonsa coming. Did you see that crowd tonight? Nope. You think anybody's going in there next year and winning with the money that they're and the talent that they're going to have? Watch out. But this is Kansas. This is Kansas. And if this had happened to Carolina, we would be ripping them to shreds right now. So I'm going to dedicate the same energy to this performance here tonight. That was a joke. You got your ass kicked. You didn't show up for the game. What were the opening minutes of the game? They didn't look like they wanted to be there. And at this stage of the game, for them to be sitting at just above 500 in the Big 12, which, by the way, is not the SEC. Like, it's still a really good league. But this is not like they're going through the gauntlet of the SEC. They got beat by a bubble team tonight by 34 points. That's not competitive. It's humiliating. And for whatever that payroll is, and for whoever's funding that roster, I'd be pissed tonight. I'd be pissed off going to bed.